The Game. Once again, we always talk about The Game, but since he has an album coming out, it makes sense. He revealed, people are saying this is the artwork, but I don't know, man. He's been dropping some weird, photos here and there. Not weird photos, but just like random photos. And we don't know if it's the artwork or not. I'm assuming this is Harlem, his oldest son. This looks like the documentary days where he had the photos. He dropped 3 photos of Harlem with his son. And then at the end, this is what got me curious. Drillmatic with a bunch of empty slots and just numbers. So we assume this is the track list. Now, I hate this, man. I hate this. The album is 30 tracks long. 30 tracks. Now, am I a Game fan? Yes, I am a Game fan. I would be lying if I said I wasn't a Game fan. I am a Game fan. I was hoping this album would be sort of his comeback because he has that nice, he had the record Easy with Kanye West. It was his first Hot 100 chart in the top 40 for a long time. We're talking years upon years. So it looked like Game was finally getting back some hip-hop fans' attention, which is good, which I was happy for because, finally Game is getting kind of back in the limelight and it's working for him. So to me, when he announced Drillmatic, I was like, okay, the best way to have a classic is to have less tracks on your album because that gives less chances for people to dislike songs. What's the likelihood of you disliking a 10-track album? Less likely than a 30-track because 30 you have more tracks to choose from, more tracks to dislike and like. So I was very, very, very disappointed in the fact that we found out that this album is 30 tracks long. That is way too long. I hate albums over 16 tracks for the most part. It's rare that I ever enjoy an over 16-track album. It just never works out. For the most part, you end up having a few tracks that are garbage or at least some tracks that are garbage. 30 tracks to me seems like Game's attempt to try and make sure this album doesn't flop. By that, I mean the more tracks you have on your album, the more streams are available because people can bump 30 songs versus 10. So I think this is Game's, way of trying to avoid flopping, which this is Game's proven his sales. Game's an OG. I don't know why Game gives a shit. I don't know if that's Game's attempt though. I don't know if that's the reason why he put 30 tracks on here. I'm just assuming. But usually if you put a 30-track album out, for the most part, you're trying to get as much streams as you can because 30 tracks on an album just doesn't make any sense to me. Have you ever heard a 30-track classic album? I will wait because I'm sure there is not a single one out there. I cannot think of one. Not one. I can think of not millions. I'm over-exaggerating. I can think of at least 10 to 15 albums that are classics in terms of the general public's opinion, that are 8 tracks, 9 tracks, 10 tracks, 15, all the way up to 20 maybe max. And 20 is usually with skits and stuff. So I don't know if this album is going to have skits. Who knows? Or interludes or whatever you want to call them. Regardless, 30 tracks is too much. I think Game just missed his opportunity to have a classic album. Unless somehow he manages to pull off all 30 in their classic and then he's the first artist in history to ever do that. Then I'm like, okay, then I salute Game. You're one of the best rappers ever. But you just ruined your chance, Game, of delivering the album of the year with 30 tracks. You ruined your chance at doing that. And he said that in a previous Instagram post that he's going to have the album of the year. You ruined that chance because 30 tracks is way too fucking much. That's way too much. Ultimately, the title, though, says Mind versus Heart. So I don't know if he's going the Kendrick Lamar route or he's going to split the album in 2 ways. One, maybe he's going to be conscious in his mind. He's going to be talking about maybe one is going to be about heart, emotion, I don't know. Maybe he's going that. That's why it's Mind versus Heart because he says Drillmatic, Mind versus Heart. I think what he's going to do in this album, this is my prediction on this album. I think, because if you look at the All the Smoke podcast interview, I think he's conflicted in his life about, what's the best way to word this? About delivering certain type of music? Does he still want to make gangsta music? And I think he feels guilty if he does make gangsta music because of the climate of a lot of cultural things. So I think Mind versus Heart is going to be the Mind section of the album is going to be more him thinking about his actions. And then the Heart of the album is probably going to be more the emotions of how he reacts to certain actions. If that makes sense. So the Mind's going to be more of a conscious, hey, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it. The Heart is more, because game bluntly reacts to things. A lot of people do when they get into their emotions. So the Heart part is probably going to be more of him talking about reacting quickly to things. More of the gangsta side, I think, of things. I don't know. Maybe it could be switched around. It could work both ways. But I think it's because Game, if you look at the All the Smoke podcast, he definitely, he talks about Kobe passing away. He talks about how, Nipsey died in his own neighborhood. And, he's like, oh, black people always kill black people and all this stuff. So I think he's conflicted with the type of music he drops. He feels like it's destroying the black community with the type of aggressive, gangsta music. So maybe he's conflicting. He's having a confliction between that, and that's maybe what the album is going to be. Mind versus Heart sounds something like that. So even if it's a double disc album, it's still 30 tracks. You should do something like Kendrick Lamar, where 9, 8, 10 tracks each side, 20 tracks, good. 30 tracks ruins your chances for album of the year. That's how I feel. Too much music. I don't even know if I'm going to bump all 30 tracks. It's going to take me a while. I can barely sometimes bump a 15-track album, let alone, 30 tracks. So it drops June 17th, the same day as Kevin Gates. I hope Kevin Gates outsells him because I like Kevin Gates more right now than the Game. And, we'll keep our eye on it. We'll see. That's my thoughts on the 30-track. I'm not a fan of it, but whatever.